Hey everybody, welcome to TN Sports Chat presented by Lehigh Valley Health Network. I'm Patrick Matsinko. This is Emmett McCall. We are into March Madness. We're pretty much in the heart of everything right now with swimming, wrestling, basketball. This is pretty much our prime time right now, I guess.
It's an exciting time, and like you said, March Madness. Swimming's coming up this weekend. Actually, starts Thursday. State finals in Hershey. Basketball Friday and Saturdays starts their PIAA state playoffs. And swimming, it'll be a week away. The AA swimming is Friday and Saturday at Bucknell University.
So it'll be a busy next couple of weeks. We're coming off of the regional tournaments for wrestling. Southeast Regional Tournament was held as scheduled this past Friday and Saturday at Wilson West Lawn High School. I know the weather kind of played havoc with most everything else this past weekend, but we were lucky enough to get the 2A Southeast Regional Tournament in on time as scheduled.
And you made it down there,
I
Patrick.
did, yeah.
Yes, Friday, traveling wasn't great on Friday.
It wasn't. Biggest thing was just getting out of Lehigh. And then once you got down there, you wouldn't even know that we were in the middle of some kind of nor'easter back home. But yeah, but it was good to be down there Friday and Saturday. We had a bunch of really strong performances. Northwestern's Caleb Clymer led the way, picked up his first regional title at 160 pounds. With a 9-7 decision. We have 10 kids total going to states.
Really nice representation from the area.
Yeah, and a nice kind of breakdown too. Northwestern has 4 kids going to states. In addition to Caleb, we also have Matt Peters, Jackson Bernhard, Colin Rex. So Northwestern, yeah. I mean, it's been kind of a strong season for them where they performed really well at the individual district tournament. They're doing it again at regionals, and now they have 4 kids, kind of a solid core group that are all going out to states.
Which is really nice. Another school, local school that had a really good representation, or will have a real good representation out at Hershey this week, is Panther Valley.
Yeah.
3 kids going.
And that was, I mean, for them, I think it was, Tim Robb said it was kind of, what they were hoping for, that they had 3 kids out at regionals, and, Tanner Kennedy, Hunter Kennedy, and Derek Beckham, all 3 going through the states. And it wasn't easy. I mean, it was kind of a weird tournament with some defaults, some forfeits.
Battling back after losing opening matches. That was what, Tanner Kennedy?
Tanner Kennedy lost a first-round match to a kid that was kind of he was a fill-in, he was a replacement, loses a first-round match, manages to get through all the way through the consolation bracket to finish third, wins his third-place match in overtime.
Pretty much of an upset in the opening round. You lose like that in a match that you kind of expected to win, and you think, might take the wind out of his sails, and he probably rested some of his best matches of the year coming back, because you have no margin for error in that situation.
No, and I think, that's even something that Tim Robb had mentioned, that's the hardest thing to do in a tournament like that. And again, it's not just a tournament where it's, it's a local type of tournament. This is regionals where you're getting kids that are some of the best, in this area. So that was a really nice performance there. Hunter Kennedy, banged up, but managed to score a late takedown to secure his spot in the semifinals, which also secured a spot in states, and then he forfeited out of the tournament, just kind of trying to get well for states. I
heard he was pretty banged up.
Yeah, but he got that takedown.
Bloodied and bruised.
And but those are the kind of matches where it's a must-win kind of situation in a spot like that. And because that if you lose and end up down in the consolation bracket, it's going to be so difficult to have to kind of fight all the way through like Tanner did, or like some of these other kids did, to get through and get into a medal match, like Derek Beckham. I mean,
our favorite wrestling,
the Cobra. But again, to be in that blood round match where
do or die, you win, you're in; you lose, you're
going home. Right? Yeah, and he's down, I think 6-0, and he manages to come back, win 12-10 in overtime to punch his ticket to states. So again, you get kids that have performances like that, and it's awesome to see, and to see the kids wrestling. I know Jim Lowell said this about his Northwestern guys, wrestling their best at the right time, the best time of the year.
Now. This is the time. Who else do we have? 4 Northwestern, 3 Panther Valley.
And then we also have, in addition to those kids, we also have Palmerton's Lucas Chrisman, who had a really, really nice tournament to finish third. He, had a couple of pins in the championship bracket, came back through, beat a really tough kid for third place, scored 16 points. I mean, it's difficult to do that in matches like that. And he almost had another pin in that match too. So I mean, he's a pinner. He's been super impressive, and to think about what he's doing,
yes, he's been
and to be scoring points and to be offensive. I mean, he certainly isn't. He doesn't look at all overwhelmed by any of the situation, and I think he just kind of has a mindset that he's going to just go out, wrestle his match, and be offensive, push the pace, and he's done it so far. And then we also have Ethan Mordaunt of Jim Thorpe, who lost in a district final to Dane Census of Saucon Valley, close decision, pin census for third at regionals on Saturday. So
nice revenge there.
Yeah, and again, that's a kid who got some regional experience last year, came back this year, took third, and really looks like he could be primed to.
He's had a great season.
Oh yeah, and he keeps seeming to kind of get better, and I think he gets more confidence. And when you're able to win matches like that in the postseason against the kid that you lost to previously, and Census is a really tough kid,
right.
It bodes really well for him heading out to Hershey.
Right, got to give him some extra confidence going into Thursday's matches at Hershey.
Absolutely, and then we also have Tamaqua's Bronson Strauss, who took 6th.
Right.
So at 220 pounds, going to states for the first time, and again, only a sophomore, but
right.
He's a kid that I think is really he's really obviously figured it out. He's Schuylkill League champion. He's been super tough all season, but now he's going to states for the first time. So it'll be interesting to see what he does out there, and he gets another week and more experience under his belt. Same with all these kids.
Right, 10 wrestlers, 5 different teams represented. You'll be out there this weekend.
Yes.
Also in Wednesday's Times News, you can have a little bit of a preview of what our early matchups.
Yeah, just kind of what to look for. There's a little bit of an interesting thing. I think the connection between the 4 Northwestern guys that are all going out. They've been together since kindergarten. Last year they wore the jackets that they had from I think junior high or whatever it was. But Matt Peters wasn't able to go out there with them last year. Season was cut short with injury. Peters is qualified this year, so that 4 core group of guys get to kind of cap their careers together in Hershey. So
great story.
Yeah.
Check it out. Make sure you get Wednesday's Times News to check that out.
It's neat, and I think you could just kind of tell that they were a little bit reflective on Saturday of just sort of having that opportunity to finish their careers together. But I also had a chance to catch up with Caleb Clymer after his first regional title to get his thoughts on the match and his expectations for states.
I've never gotten one yet until now. And, both my brothers are regional champions, and Bobby did extremely well in it. So just to kind of again join my brothers, another family thing, it feels good. Definitely came out a little slow off the bat and got caught on my back, but he was strong. I got to give it to him. He had a nice shot and then countered nice with kind of came up with a cradle. So kudos to him. It was nice, but was able to fight off, and wasn't really panicking. I knew I could come back. Was able to get the reversal right away, and then another reversal with some back points, and then another set of back right at the end of the second. Again, just like you said, one match at a time. Going through one match isn't as important as the next match, so just focusing on that first match, and then after I get that one out of the way, then I'll focus on the next match.
That was Caleb Clymer talking about his victory this past weekend at the Southeast Regional Tournament. So again, a lot to look forward to at states this weekend for all of our guys that qualified. But we also had a lot of action this past weekend on the swimming front, where a lot of our area kids performed extremely well.
Right.
So we had Marion Danny Berlitz come home with 2 gold medals.
His named AA swimmer of the meet. There.
So, and again, a state champion coming back that looks like he's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah,
and
I think he broke his marks from last year at districts in both events, so he looks primed, like he's ready to defend that gold medal in the 500 free. That's the event? 500 free.
The 200 IM is the one where I believe he was
DQ'd
for not touching.
Right.
Yeah. So
and I'm thinking he's back there in that event. He probably wants a little revenge in that to show that that last year.
And again, that was a race where he was positioned to do extremely well. It's just the way things shook out in the end.
Right.
It just kind of got taken away, I guess.
Wouldn't be surprised if he medaled in both events and,
absolutely.
had take home gold in 2 events, probably.
Yeah,
possibly.
So there's a lot to look forward to there for Danny. But we also had Maddie Dando, take gold in the 100 back, silver in the 200 IM. So again, a freshman that performed really well on a big stage.
Yep, and she had a brother who swam at Marion last year.
Yeah.
He was out
state
at
qualifier
last year, right? So she'll be there representing Marion as well. We also have Lexi Kerstetter from Tamaqua.
Gold in the 200 freestyle, and also I believe, she also did she also medal in another event?
Didn't medal. I think she
just
finished,
outside.
Yes, made the
We're
final.
We're gonna cut that.
Yeah. Too much work.
But
so we have 4 gold medals by 3 different swimmers at districts. We also had a couple of medalist performances by some of the Panther Valley kids who were there.
Yeah, Jackie Kukinda was 3rd in 2 events, 200 freestyle, 500 freestyle. So again, we talked about that last week too, about those kids and being independent and kind of going out there swimming on their own.
Emily Newton was the other Panther Valley girl. She
2nd in the 100 breaststroke.
Right. So both of them freshmen, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. Dando's a freshman. So we have some really good young swimmers in this area. Something to look forward to in coming years.
Yeah, and it seems like, again, we have another strong group that's going out. And again, talking about them as independents, they might be, swimming maybe not so much as a team, but it seems kind of cool when they all go out to Bucknell. They do all kind of get together and kind of bond, and it seems like it's a neat thing for all of them to be able to sort of experience that together.
And one thing about the swimming last week was supposed to be at Parkland. They had power outages down there this weekend, so they had a couple hours before they started on Saturday. They postponed Friday because of the weather. A couple hours before they were supposed to start on Saturday, they had a flip from Parkland to Emmaus. Emmaus is a little smaller. Yes, heard it was wall-to-wall swimmers.
Yeah.
They actually had to do some closed-circuit television into one of the other rooms at the school because they couldn't fit all the fans into the swimming area. So, but it was nice. Nice job.
It's warm enough in those places to begin with. So when you pack everybody in,
but our swimmers didn't let that little change, didn't throw them off. We had a lot of really good showings by our area swimmers.
Yeah, so looking forward to getting to Bucknell in a couple of weeks. I was out there last year for 4 days.
You might be going again.
So I might be able to go again and see how things shake out again this year. But that'll be in a couple of weeks.
Right.
So
actually like a week.
In a week, yeah. So
a week and a couple of days.
But it comes at you fast.
Yes,
so
it does.
I might think it's a couple of weeks before you know it.
Yeah, wrestling ends. You'll be home for a day or 2, and then I'll be sending you to Bucknell.
That's okay. I'll try to take a company car. But so that's the swimming that we had this past weekend and what to kind of look forward to there. But we also had a lot of big basketball games this past weekend.
Yes, we did. 2 teams playing for district championships, Panther Valley boys and Weatherly girls. Weatherly girls were able to win it. Both teams went into last Saturday's state championship games having won a district title since 1986. Both of them had been 32 years since they had won a title. Weatherly was able to do that, beat Pottsville Nativity 40-37 for the championship. Panther Valley lost to Moravian Academy, but both the Panthers and Wreckers are going to states. And the third team is Tamaqua boys. They played Wilson in a consolation game Saturday. Winner-loser were both going into the state tournament, but Tamaqua did what they needed to do. They built some momentum. They got a win over Wilson, and so they'll enter the state tournament with a little momentum now.
I was going to say, and I think it's always nice, and you think about that too, even with regional wrestling and things like that, where you might be in a 3rd or a 5th place type of match, and you know that regardless of the result, you're going to states. And even in these kind of games where it's a consolation game, but win or lose, you're going to states. It's always nice, I think, though, to kind of come off of a victory as you move forward and just get that little bit of extra confidence moving forward.
And Tamaqua will need that. They're in the Class 4A boys. In the opening round, they're playing a really good Scranton Prep team, District 2 champs. Scranton Prep has played a really difficult schedule. They played Hazelton, a really good Hazelton team. I think they've only lost 1 game all year. They only lost them, it was by single digits. I think it was like a 59-50 score. So they're good. They beat Emmaus, who finished...
Which is...
one of the top East Penn Conference teams, made it to the 6A semifinals. And they beat them. They also beat a really good Schuylkill League team in Pottsville. That's the one common opponent Tamaqua and Prep have in common this year. Prep beat Pottsville in overtime earlier in the year. Tamaqua lost to Pottsville twice this year, but you can't really go by matchups, sure. Comparative scores, because matchups are different. Tamaqua has a nucleus of about eight players Coach Barron likes to use. We talk about the star players a lot. We talk about Thad Zuber and Lucas Gregor.
The
Jaguar, yeah, but some of the other kids that are playing key roles for Tamaqua this year, we have Michael Bonetsky, Darian Styanchi, Braden Knobloch, Casey Rother, and Gabe Gregor.
Jaguar.
Yeah, so they've all contributed, and we'll see how it flows. They play Friday night at 7:30 at Marywood.
And Thad Zuber got his 1,000th career point.
Yes, he did on Saturday up at Martz Hall,
which
with
was a free throw.
Yeah, he had two big free throws late in that game. With I think Tamaqua hanging on to like a 3-point lead at the time. It was a one-possession game. He put it into. Gave Tamaqua a little breathing room there at the end. So there were big foul shots and went over 1,000 in the process.
And we talked about Weatherly girls. We mentioned last week before their matchup against Nativity that they had split the regular season meetings, with Weatherly winning the most recent one. And the rubber match was another really, really, really tight game, which is what you expect in a situation like that.
Weatherly was kind of in control the whole way. I covered the game. They were up. Never a whole lot, but up 6-8, bouncing around most of the game. Nativity made a late run, and Weatherly kind of went with their strength. Emily Zolson, who was the first time I've got to see her this year. I saw her as a freshman and a sophomore. She's improved even more this year. I was really impressed. She does it all for them. Handles the ball, gets to the foul line. She was their leading rebounder in the game. So does a little bit of everything. But the story I wrote for Monday's paper talked about, as good as Zolson is, they needed the role players around her to get the district title this year. They got some big plays.
And that's, again, you kind of think about situations like that where she can do everything, but Nativity knows that.
Right.
So
she got lots of attention in the game.
Yeah. So when you're able to kind of, just sort of spread it around a little bit like that and get other players involved, and when they have those kinds of performances, that's I think it's also too the mark of a great team, and to be able to come through as well.
You're not going to win a championship for the most part with a one-person team, right? So as good as Olsen was the last 2 years. Last year she was All-State. She was their leading scorer as a freshman. Yeah. They didn't do anything in the district playoffs those years. They made it, but I think they were 1-0 both years. But the role players have stepped up their role, and like Tabitha Hinkle hit a key foul shot when it was a two-point Weatherly lead in the last 10 seconds to get it to that 3-point margin. Lindsay Hoffman had a huge block. Nativity was attempting a game-tying 3-pointer in the final seconds, made a huge block. Jillian Hinkle, who else? Ashley James, Megan Pfeiffer's been a big scorer for them this year. So they've had a lot of other people step up this year.
Yeah, and again, like you mentioned about just sort of having gotten to the district playoffs the last couple of years, but maybe not a ton of success. And now this is a group that is kind of seasoned, has that experience, and is maybe ready to take that next step. So.
They play Saturday in the first round of the state playoffs. They're playing the Christian Academy, which is the District 1 number 3 team. That game's at Blue Mountain at 4:30 Saturday. And I think just looking at some comparative scores, that Weatherly has a pretty good chance to advance to the next round.
Yeah, and you just kind of focus. It's on to the next one, I guess.
Right.
You just kind of worry about the one that's in front of you, and then just move on to the next one. So that'll be this weekend, which is something to look forward to. We also have, like you mentioned, the Panther Valley boys played a really tough Moravian Academy team in the District 2A final over the weekend, and Moravian. Jordan Holmquist, leading scorer, top scorer, 1,000-point scorer.
Really good scorer. I saw him last year. They played Marion in a district semifinal game, and I covered it, and he went off for more than 20 points against them. Really impressive player. Panther Valley actually did a good job holding them down in the first half, but Moravian made a lot of shots, hit a lot of threes in the game, and then Holmquist went off in the second half, and wasn't the result Panther Valley was hoping for, but they're still in the state playoffs, and now it's time to regroup and get ready for your next game.
Exactly. That's one of those things where, again, you think about disappointing loss, but still quite a bit to play for head coach Pat Cramsey and the Panthers, who move on to the state playoffs, like you said, this weekend.
Philadelphia Math, Civics, and Science is who they're playing, and you'll see some teams in the state tournament every now and then who don't have real impressive records, either made the state tournament with a losing record or a little bit about 500, and you'll look at them and you'll say, they can't be that good. Well, Math, Civic, and Science is 14-13. But they're really good.
Yeah.
When you're a small school team in the Philadelphia area, you end up playing a lot of the 5A, 6A teams, or really good opponents. They played Imhotep Charter, who's a perennial state power. They played them a couple of times, so they're pretty good.
Yeah. So obviously the challenge doesn't get any easier for the Panthers this weekend. But we mentioned last week that Panther Valley's lineup was a little bit in flux coming off of the game against Marion. A couple of guys were out, but a couple of guys
now.
Yeah, they're back, and a couple of other guys maybe you mentioned about Weatherly having some other role players. We had maybe a similar kind of situation with Panther Valley, where other guys got some playing time in a district final, district championship game. So, who are some of the role players that you look at when you see Panther Valley and kind of the rotation, the depth that they have?
Well, obviously Tristan Velasco and Rini Fagora are the ones we talk about a lot here. But Eric Macharo, who was the star of the Marion game, basically won that game for him. He's played really well this year. Trey Turner has played well. Ronnie Ditzler, Blake White, Alan Perez, Mark Sanchez. Coach Pat Cramsey uses 8-9 players sometimes. All those kids we just mentioned have all contributed
big time.
Right, at one time or another have all stepped up, and made plays for the Panthers.
Yeah, and now you get a chance to kind of see it. Hopefully, maybe pay dividends as we get into out of district finals, into the state playoffs, and see kind of hopefully they can kind of lean on that experience that they've gotten throughout the season.
We talked about some common foes. Tamaqua and Prep had Panther Valley and Math, Civic, and Science haven't played any common opponents, but I did find out just looking at the schedules that Math, Civic, and Science opened the season in the Shamokin tip-off tournament and played Shamokin High School and beat them by 34 points. That's a really good Shamokin team. Shamokin actually beat Lord's Regional, which
was in the Schuylkill League,
undefeated in Division 2 and 3 play this year in the Schuylkill League, made the Schuylkill League playoffs. So Shamokin beat them, and this team really hammered Shamokin early. So the Panthers are going to have to be at their best. Coach Cramsey probably have to come up with some kind of idea to kind of slow the pace
some
down.
time too between the district final and the state playoffs, where you can maybe sort of kind of devise a game plan like that, where you can try to hopefully slow them down and kind of come up with something that maybe turns the tide and see kind of what happens. But again, so that'll be this weekend.
And that's Saturday, 5 p.m. at Abraham Lincoln High School in Philadelphia.
So I think that we covered.
We got wrestling, we got swimming, we got basketball. Next week we'll be back. We'll kind of wrap up who did what in Hershey with the wrestling. Just quickly, Pat, best chance for an area medal and a sleeper that maybe can sneak in there and get a medal that people maybe aren't expecting.
Caleb Clymer is our only returning medalist. He was third last year. And I think just kind of the way his season has gone, it's pretty much been he's gunning for a state title. He's a district champion. He's a regional champion. That's his first regional title. He's been as advertised throughout the season, and I think it's kind of just like one box left to check off, and it's a big one, obviously. But I don't think he's maybe going to be satisfied with anything other than a state championship this weekend. But then
sleeper?
Some of the other guys, just looking at the way but I don't even know if you could call them sleepers. I think maybe
Derek
anybody
Beckham, who makes it to this level is
sure,
obviously really good.
But Derek Beckham, I think maybe he was just kind of. I talked to Coach Rob a little bit afterward on Saturday, and I'm sure he was just kind of happy. You're always happy to get to states. It's certainly a goal.
Almost.
Yeah, but I don't know if people would have been penciling him in as a state qualifier at the beginning of this season. And coming through regionals the way that he did, again, winning matches like that and being able to get through, I think says a lot, and I feel like he's a kid that, again, wrestling super well at the right time of the year, and you never know what's going to happen. You go out there and you have just as good a chance as anybody else. Everything resets. So, but again, too impressed with Lucas Chrisman and Ethan Mordaunt to come back and take third in that tournament. They both look really good. And you have Hunter Kennedy, who qualified last year. Tanner Kennedy's going for the first time. So you have kids like that who, again, Hunter Kennedy's bracket was loaded at 170 at regionals with Edmund Ruth and Dalton Group. There were some really tough kids at 170, and he managed to get through, get in the semis, and then a little banged up, so he kind of forfeited out there. But he's going to states. So with health, you don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, so we'll see if the Cobra can come back with some gold and or not gold, but a medal and maybe gold. We'll see and see what happens next week. So
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday's Times News will all have wrestling pictures and story. Bob Ford's going down, you're going down. So check us out.
Yep, whether or not.
Good one.
But so that'll be this weekend, and we'll certainly be busy, but we'll look forward to bringing you everything next week and kind of letting you know everything that went on. So,
God, by the way, that was a real cop-out because I asked you for one sleeper, and you just got everybody from the area who's going to Hershey, but we'll have 10 with that.
We have 10. So certainly looking forward to it. But that's all for this week. So for Emmett McCall, I'm Patrick Matsinko. Thanks again for tuning in to TN Sports Chat presented by Lehigh Valley Health Network.